Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point Podcast, the final episode for the year. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I'm joined once again by Lewin. How are we doing, my friend?
Going good. It felt weird hearing Turning Point.
Yeah, because those who don't know, we've actually been doing another podcast for the past few weeks. A lot of the OGs who listen to this one will remember we did a couple of Doctor Who themed episodes way back when, and now we have a whole Doctor Who themed podcast, and that's what we've been doing for the past 6 weeks. I'm glad I used the right intro, I will say.
And hey, in true Turning Point tradition, it actually turned out alright. It wasn't a complete clusterfuck like 5 out of the 6
That's
openings.
very true. That's very true. Although, I will say, with this one I am eating, so, you know. I'm having dinner.
Can't podcast on an empty stomach.
Unfortunately, like, just in terms of, like, the times we could record this, I didn't have time to fully prepare dinner. So, and have it at the same time before recording. So here we are. I'm currently eating dinner. I made my own homemade enchiladas, Lewin. And I'm currently eating them, and they're delicious.
I love me a good enchilada. I fully support it.
So, this is the big food episode of the podcast, because you said you got dinner on the way, don't you?
It should be delivered at any point in the next half an hour.
Oh, cool. So, this is the big food episode of the podcast. But you know what? It's the final episode of the year. It's chill. You know, we're just going to sit here, have our dinner, and we're going to talk about some stuff. This episode, now, I also want to say, we were meant to do an Edgar Wright trilogy of episodes. That kind of didn't happen. So, apologize for that. We will get to the Edgar Wright stuff eventually. We will, because all we've got left now that we've done Baby Driver is we still got to do, obviously, Last Night in Soho. Eventually, and we'll also do obviously our Cornetto trilogy episode at some point. I guess that's kind of the meme, right? Like, we started this whole Edgar Wright series like a year ago, that didn't do anything for over a year, and then we do one more episode, and then it just kind of all turns to shit. But it kind of it happened because, you know, like, it was just difficult to get the time to do it.
2020 was a clusterfuck of like products. You know, 1 second it was like, yeah, we can talk about this in this month. And then next thing you know, it's like, let's just fill the gap with an Edgar Wright thing. It's like, yeah. Good plan. And
then, unfortunately, we couldn't fill the gap because we couldn't get the recording happening. We were meant to have a couple of guests on, and we weren't able to kind of get that happening. But I will say, very exciting this episode, Lewin, because we are finally going to talk about Bond. No Time to Die. For those who can't remember, we did last year... In November, we did a Daniel Craig Bondathon special episode where we talked about all 4 Daniel Craig films. At the time, that was meant to be the episode before we talked about No Time to Die. However, last year, a couple of weeks out from when the film was meant to launch, they delayed it until November this year.
Oh, they delayed to April, then September, and then if you live in Australia like we do, it got delayed again to November.
So for the rest of the world, this came out fucking ages ago now. Like 2 months ago now.
Yep.
For us, it came out last month.
A month old.
But we both seen it, and we're here to talk about it this episode. And I think it's a good episode to talk about too, since like this is also, you know, it's an older film now. You know, it's been out. We're doing an episode on it. You know, we can't really capitalize on it being recent like we could with Suicide Squad because it just isn't recent anymore. But it's a good episode to do it because this is our final episode of the year, Lewin, which means it's time for our meme tradition of doing the bullshit awards for 2021.
Awards time.
Do you know what I've actually thought about? We haven't really done any bullshit ratings this year.
No.
But to be fair, we've barely done any podcasts this year. We started the year off strong, and it just all turned to shit after that.
Yeah, we hit some scheduling problems. Just general plans went awry.
I also completely lost all motivation to do fucking anything, so I just didn't. But it's all good because we're here. And that means, Lewin, that season 2 of this show is going to carry on into next year.
Hey.
We're not taking a break. We got a big month coming up in January. We're going to be talking Witcher. We're going to be talking probably Edgar Wright as well. We'll probably maybe... Because what's coming out? We've got Boba Fett coming out.
Yep.
Do you think... We probably won't be able to talk about that in January, though, because that's probably going to come out week by week, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's probably not going to be until February, March, maybe.
So maybe we could do a Last Night episode and a Witcher episode. Because Witcher will drop all at once.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do either one of those. That might be good. But yeah, it's very exciting. We're going to do our bullshit awards. For those who don't know, basically we... I don't know what Lewin's personal feelings of it are, but the joke is that I think the whole idea of the Game Awards and Game of the Year and all this nonsense is a load of bullshit and doesn't really matter. So, in keeping with the spirit of that, our bullshit awards are where Lewin and I individually basically just say what our favorite thing of the year was. Essentially, that's basically all it is. It's not the best thing, it's just the thing we like the most. So we'll do a video games, we'll do a TV show, we'll do a movie. The 3 main things we cover. And usually Lorne and I might have different things. We might have the same thing. I think we all had different things last year, right? Maybe?
I believe we did, yeah.
I can't remember. Do you know what I did do in that episode, though, and I remember it well? I got to talk about fucking Destiny for a while, and I love talking about Destiny. And you gave your impressions on the PS5. I remember that episode.
Oh my god, that's right. It's been a fucking year.
How do you feel about the PS5 a year later?
I
need you to, just to let you know, the reason why I'm asking you this is I need you to talk for a little bit so I can finish eating this second enchilada.
Okay, in terms of the PS5, it's been a slow year for the console. They haven't done much with it. The PS4 had a pretty slow start too. The PS5, they did do one thing. I absolutely despise the trophy list in the PS5 because it was horizontal on these little cards, and you couldn't read the description of any of the trophies properly. They've changed it. It's now vertical the same way every other console has it, like a sane console. So yeah, that's pretty damn good.
Did you just say like a sane console?
Sane console, yeah.
Nice.
I reckon any trophy list that's horizontal or any achievement list that's horizontal is an affront to man. It's no.
Well, that was good. Thank you for doing that for a minute or so I could finish eating my other half of the enchilada that I'm eating. And I was wrong. It wasn't the second one. It was actually half of the third one. I bloody smashed him down. We're doing good. But, Lewin, before we get into it, God, this episode's doing great. Before we get into it, what have you been up to lately? What have you been doing?
I have, this morning, I watched 2 more episodes of Witcher.
Getting there, preparing for next year, yep.
I've got 4 episodes left, and then the Vesemir movie, and so that's cool. Yeah, I'm liking it a bit more. And I've been reading the Star Wars The High Republic things, which I'm really enjoying that era of Star Wars. What else has been... Oh, yeah, I've just been on my regular playthrough of the Souls series in the lead up to Elden Ring. So, yeah, not much.
Why are you doing that to yourself?
I really like the games.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's a fair enough reason. I'm not going to argue with that. I would never touch them with a 10-foot pole.
That's also fair enough.
I didn't even play much of Jedi Fallen Order.
Huh. Good game. But
it was a good game, But I also was just like, I stopped playing it one time to play something else. And I just never went back to it. And I literally have zero interest in ever touching that ever again. So, although that said though, I almost downloaded it on PC so I could download the Ahsoka Tano mod and play as Ahsoka Tano.
Of course that exists.
No, that's good. That's good. I've really been doing a hell of a lot, to be honest with you. I've been kind of bit disinterested in the video games as of late. Well, I've been watching Series 4 of Doctor Who. And if you want to know why I'm watching Series 4 of Doctor Who, then go listen to the last episode of our Doctor Who Flux podcast. But, I need to remind myself what good Doctor Who was. And so I went back and watched that. I'm now up to the library episodes. So I smashed through a heap of episodes over the last couple of days. And I'm really enjoying Series 4. And I think it's definitely, I think, peak New Who. Like, I don't think it gets any better than this. There's not a single bad episode in Series 4. Where in other series of the show, I feel like there's, not necessarily bad episodes, but like mediocre episodes as well. Like I definitely think, I don't think from memory, I don't think there's would you say there's a bad episode in Series 3? Or would you just say like half of Series 3 is very mediocre?
I would say half of Series 4 is very mediocre.
There is a Chib script in Series 3 though.
Yeah, that's one of the mediocre ones.
That is one of the mediocre ones. True. I don't know. The only thing that I really find memorable from Series 3, is actually the first episode. Really, I really enjoyed the first episode. The first episode's great, and that kind of like last half of the series, the kind of Family of Blood, Utopia, kind of Sound of Drums, whatever those episodes are called. That kind of like half of the series is really good because you got Blink in there as well.
Oh yeah, the entire back half of the series after 42, I think, is the predecessor to that. Human Nature through to Last of the Time Lords is golden. Very
true. Yes, I've been watching that, and I'm up to library episodes, which I think are probably my favorite episodes from that series. I think. I really love those episodes. I love like the set, like where they shot it, the way they used lighting. The Vashon and Narada are just an interesting villain, and it's really good that they haven't popped up since. I'm genuinely surprised Moffat didn't milk the shit out of that. But I'm glad that they haven't turned up since, because I think it's a really interesting idea for one episode, but then it's kind of hard to, replicate. But that's my favorite episodes. Like I love Journey's End and all of those kind of parts of the series as well. And this time I actually found myself, I've never really thought highly of the Sontaran episodes. Like I like them, they're good episodes, but I've never thought like really highly of them. They've always been like the weaker part of the series to me. Yeah. But I was watching them recently when I watched them the other day, and I'm like, you know what, these are fucking bangers. Maybe I've just been exposed to just really bad Doctor Who for so long that, I just look at...
You elevate everything
and I'm just like, wow, this is just quality content. Maybe I might enjoy it. Who knows? Maybe I might go back and enjoy Love and Monsters now. Maybe Series 13 of Doctor Who whatever it's called, Doctor Who Flux, is the turning point to make me like Love and Monsters. I should try it out. I should go watch it.
Breaking.
Yeah, well, exactly. If Doctor Who has broken me to the point where I like Love and Monsters, then there's a problem. But yeah, if you want to hear our thoughts on the new series of Doctor Who, because that is also something that we have both been doing, then we do have a Doctor Who spoiler cast over on my channel called Doctors in Distress. That's what it's called. And we recently did 6 episodes on the Doctor Who Series 13 Flux thing that happened the last 6 weeks or so, and it happened.
Yeah,
came and went. And I've been getting into, well, I actually haven't been getting into arguments on Twitter because I know if I respond I'm going to get into some arguments. So I've been putting up some banger tweets, which if you don't follow me, go follow me at RebelCroft to see my banger Doctor Who tweets and takes. And yeah, the people have been responding. Like I posted, just being like, what did I do the other day? Yeah, I posted the picture of Chris. Yeah, the Doctor Who account shared Chris Chibnall's like 15-minute long fucking story breakdown video. And I'm just like, so 13, so basically 13's arc in this series ended with her in the exact same place she ended series 12 in. Therefore, nothing has actually happened this series. The plot hasn't progressed, and it was a complete waste of time to even give 13 an arc in the first place. And then I just put, Chibs is a good writer. And like the clip on the Twitter account is just like a 2-minute clip. But like it's a 15-minute story breakdown video with Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker, and I'm just sitting here like, you know what my favorite thing from Doctor Who Flux actually is? My favorite thing from Doctor Who Flux is the fact that there is a 15-minute story breakdown where Chris Chibnall is explaining the plot of his own script. That's my favorite thing.
I saw a lot of comments that were like, we were joking. You didn't actually have to do it.
And also, everything he discusses is about the 13th Doctor's story arc. And I'm like, the 13th Doctor had a story arc this series? Like, are you sure about that? And everything he was talking about, I'm like, yeah, but none of this is in the script, Chibs. None of it is in the scripts. This is just you saying a bunch of words that aren't in the script. He's like talking about the 13th Doctor's arc and how basically my interpretation of what he was talking about was essentially at the end, but basically the reason why 13, his reasoning for why 13 doesn't open the watch at the end of the series is because her arc in the series led her to the point to realize that her memories don't define her. And I was just like,
That is the exact thing given at the end of season 12.
I'm like, are you actually having a laugh? Like, it's a meme. Why is it real? Anyway, so my favorite thing was I thought I'd been a bit too negative about Doctor Who on Twitter recently, so I thought I added a positive thing. So I said, I will say something positive to balance all this out. I really liked the multi-Doctor scenes. They were fun. And that's all I said about that. And then I had this guy here being like, I disagree. Unlike Series 12, there's a character arc going on. Her obsession about finding the truth almost became more important than her own friend or even the whole universe for that matter. And I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, that's not in the script. Like, it's not in there. You're just making that up. Like, yes, she has an obsession, correct, but there's nothing in the script that indicates that finding the truth is more important than her own friend or even the whole universe. And he's even wrong on that particular point, because there's literally the scene where Tecteun is like, hey, forget about your universe, come join Division again and you can get your memories back. And the Doctor's like, yeah, nah, I don't think so, eh?
I've got other plans.
So, like, even what he said is wrong. I'm like, and anyway, then someone was like, wait, that's her arc? Then they literally pointed out the fact that it literally ended with her telling herself that it doesn't matter, and then the Timeless Children literally ended with herself telling herself that it doesn't matter, and then she spent all of Revolution of the Dark Daleks very much not giving a damn about it, and then she's like, this is the equivalent to bringing Clara back in Hellbent after 12 spent the entirety of Heaven Sent learning how to cope with grief, except at least that was just one episode. And anyway, so, you know, people getting mad on Twitter. And, like, I'm actually seeing it. Like, people are actually legitimately getting mad on Twitter that people have negative opinions about Doctor Who Flux. And I'm just like...
I kind of see where they're coming from. You know, you build up so much hope and then you get it brutally ripped away.
Well, maybe just make a good series of television, you know?
Yeah, that's what next season's for.
Oh, yeah, true. Anyway, other than that, I've been playing a bit of Battlefield 2040, whatever the game's called.
You made the mistake of buying it, or did you pirate it?
I do not pirate games, excuse me.
Okay.
No, I bought it ages ago, actually. I bought it ages ago when I had the money to buy it, because I was like, fuck, I don't think I'm going to have the money when the game actually comes out. So I bought it ages ago. and I just had it sitting in my Steam library ready to download. And I can tell you, I played it for about 4 days. And I haven't touched it in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not buying until they mass fix it if they can.
And I'm actually back playing Destiny now because the new Bungie 30th anniversary event has kicked off. And they've got a new event game that's really fun. And I played that for the first time last night and had a good time.
Alright.
Fuck, I love Destiny. What a good game. Do you know what I am excited for, Lewin? I'm excited for February, when the Witch Queen comes out in February.
Yep.
Well, you know what's funny is there's so many games coming out in February, but the two things I'm most hyped about... Actually, Horizon's coming out February, right? Isn't that February?
I believe that's February, yes.
Let's look it up. I think it is February. Okay, well then there's 3 things I'm hype about. Actually, I think there's 4 because I'm pretty sure doesn't Stray come out in February as well?
I think you are correct about...
Fuck, so much is coming out in February.
Stray video game.
18th of February is Horizon.
Come on, Stray. When are you coming out? Early 2022. That's all it says.
Probably February then.
Yep.
But that's coming out on the 1st of February. We actually have the Life is Strange remasters dropping.
Yes.
Very excited about that. I'm so keen to play them. I'm probably going to stream them. I'm very excited. As you know, I love me a bit of Life is Strange, and I'm very looking forward to revisiting those games. I played Before the Storm so many times, but
I've played it once.
I've only ever played the first Life is Strange twice, and both of those times was in 2015, 2016. So it's been years since I played that one, so I'm really looking forward to revisiting those games again. Especially after True Colors, like, really hyped me up for Life is Strange again. But yeah, other than that, I haven't been doing a hell of a lot, to be honest. Like I said, I haven't been really feeling the gaming vibes recently, you know what I mean?
No, I've been gaming.
Oh, no, you have, but I haven't. So yeah. Oh, actually, do you know what else I've been doing actually recently? I've been watching Smallville, actually.
Huh.
I'm up to I'm rewatching through Smallville, and I'm currently watching through season 4 of Smallville, which is my favorite season. That's the season where they introduced Lois Lane. And it's also the season where it's like there's a whole load of like witchcraft and shit. Like there's a lot of like weird shit going on. It's a bloody good series of Smallville. I really love that one. But yeah, I'm up to season 4 out of 10. I'm very excited to keep watching it, and I'm gonna go back to watching it actually as soon as I finished my kind of like little mini Doctor Who rewatch. I'm gonna go back to it and continue watching it. But it's just so weird watching that first episode of series 4 and seeing Clark and Lois meet each other for the first time. You're just like, wow, this is really weird. I love Lois Lane in that show though. Like that's my favorite version. Like actually, to be honest with you, Smallville is my favorite interpretation of all of those characters. Like I just think it's the best version of the Superman mythos. You know, you've even got Christopher Reeve in there. He plays a character in a couple of episodes of series 2 and season 2 and 3.
Christopher Reeve was in Smallville?
Yeah, he was in a couple of episodes.
I genuinely never knew that.
So he actually plays this like rich billionaire who's been studying like symbols of Krypton and things, and like studying the stars or whatever, and he is the one who actually and anyway, he finds out one day when Clark uncontrollably burns a Kryptonian symbol into the barn. He finds out about it and contacts Clark, and then Clark goes to meet him, and he actually has a message for Clark in Kryptonian that had been, like, you know, transmitted to Earth, and so he has it, and then he asks Clark if he could read it, and Clark is able to read it due to something else that happened in some caves. That doesn't really matter. And anyway, he reads it and finds out that his birth name is Kal-El, and he was sent from the planet Krypton, and all of that kind of thing. So it's like kind of like a nice handing of the torch kind of moment, where like you've got the old Superman telling the new Superman, essentially, because we hadn't had any new Superman movies at that point either. kind of like a passing of the torch moment where Christopher Reeve is telling Tom Welling's Clark about his legacy and shit.
I'm happy to hear that. I honestly thought that Chris Reeves had already passed away by the point that Smallville was.
Yeah, they had to kind of write his character out of the show because I believe he was meant to appear again. Obviously, due to health reasons, like he couldn't appear all the time. He wasn't a regular character. He was only in 2 episodes. But I haven't really been doing much else outside of those things. Just been working, so not a lot going on. I did watch Last Night in Soho, but I'll save my discussion, my thoughts, for when we actually talk about that.
Yes, I do need to find the time to be able to see it.
So anyway, we'll get on with our bullshit awards for 2021. And what we'll do is we'll go into categories. So we'll do video games, TV shows, movies, just like we did last year. And then we're going to kind of... what I was thinking we could do is we could just list off what we have seen or played. And if it's a really long list, you'd maybe not necessarily have to list everything. That's entirely up to you, Lewin. I'll leave that up to you. But then what we'll do is we can maybe say, like a few honorable mentions maybe, and why, if you feel like you want to acknowledge something you've played or watched this year, but it isn't your favorite thing, but you want to acknowledge that. Just like, oh, this was really good or whatever. And then we will go straight into, we'll just say what is our thing.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Did you get your food yet?
Nah, it's still being made.
Still being made? It's been like an hour.
It's not being delivered. It's a house thing.
Oh, it's a house thing. Oh, I thought it was like delivery. I was like,
no,
I'm
not.
fuck?
No, if it was delivery, I would have been notably more antsy about it.
Alright, fair enough. Anyway, let's get into it, Lewin. Do you want to go first for video games, or should I go first? I haven't played a lot this year, so...
Do you want to go through your video game list?
I'll go through my video games list. It's very short. So this year, I've played... so, by the way, for these awards, because we did the episode last year in December, we didn't include anything that was released in December, so everything from December 1st, 2020... to November 30th this year is valid for these awards. So if it's released in December, we'll just do it the following year. But for video games, I played Cyberpunk 2077. I played Resident Evil Village, Life is Strange True Colors, Doctor Who Edge of Reality, the greatest game of all time, Forza Horizon 5, Battlefield 2045, and 12 Minutes. They're all the video games I've played that have released this year.
Alright.
I feel like I played more games this year, but it turns out all I've really played is I played Resident Evil Revelations and I played Final Fantasy VII, which I haven't finished yet. And just a lot of Destiny. Apparently I played a lot of Destiny this year, and a lot of other games. Like I played like bits of Witcher 3 and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I haven't really played a lot that's come out this year. Out of that, I will say the game... Look, my pick's fairly obvious when you put those kind of games together. Because as we all know, I mean, look, listen, I adore Cyberpunk 2077. I adore it, but...
End of the day, you're a massive Doctor Who fan. It's Edge of Reality. We know.
Oh, yeah. See, that's actually wrong, isn't it? Yeah, no, so, like, look, I adore Cyberpunk. It was genuinely one of my favorite games to release last year. It's still one of my favorite games to jump into. It really is. Like, I absolutely love that game to bits. I always will, and I can't wait for it to be in a really properly finished state. I think it's going to be absolute bang. And it's getting positive reviews on Steam now. People are really enjoying the game now, which is really good. But obviously, you know, it was kind of fucked. So it's kind of hard to put it up compared to some of the other games as well. But to be honest, you look at my list, there's actually a bit of a theme of fucked games. But yeah, Doctor Who Edge of Reality, Lewin, is definitely not it.
Yeah.
There's really only a couple of games that I would even consider to be Game of the Year. Like, I mean, this is Game of the Year, our personal favorite Game of the Year. It definitely wouldn't be Resident Evil Village, although I do acknowledge that game is, you know...
Is this after the comment I made on the other podcast?
It's a good game, but no. there's that. So that leaves Life is Strange, True Colors, and Forza Horizon 5 essentially. And look, it has to go to Life is Strange. It has to it has to go to Life is Strange, True Colors. That's like my favorite game of the year. It was the most solid game of the year. It was, had the best story, the best characters. Honestly, like genuinely, I loved. Like I streamed that on my channel, and it was just such a great experience. Just streaming that every night for like a week. And having, the regulars, I actually had some regulars for that series that came and joined me pretty much every night to, stream Life is Strange and just have a bit of fun. And
I popped into one of those.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't say anything, but I did pop in. It's how I knew the game existed.
Oh, because you
No, it wasn't.
Oh no, it wasn't that. It was the DLC, wasn't it?
Yes,
the
it
DLC.
was.
Yeah, you messaged me about it. I remember. But yeah, I did that in the DLC. Like, the DLC's fine, but the actual core game, like, it's just so well written. Characters are so incredible, and it's genuinely an unforgettable experience. It's my favorite game of the year. I'm not going to go into too much more about it because I actually made a video about it, which you can go check out on my channel. But yeah, I just can't think of any other option there that is close. Like, Forza Horizon 5 is pretty fucking good as a game, but like it's a racing game, like it's a solid racing game, but it can't quite compare to the emotional journey that is Life is Strange, True Colors. So maybe one day I might do an in-depth video on it, but yeah, that's my favorite game of the year. What about you, Lewin?
All right, I solely respect that choice, and I will eventually play it, especially now that I've actually finished Before the Storm. So that is
it's good because now you know who Steph is too.
Yes. I had a few games this year. Some of them are just remasters and things, so they don't fully count. Stuff like Pokemon came out. Skyrim, again, for the 10-year anniversary. Knights of the Old Republic I'm playing for the first time, which is a joy. I'm playing the Switch version of that, so that's why I can say that came out this year. I'm more likely to turn on the Switch and enjoy it, and I've made it further than I ever have before, because I do have it on PC.
I've got it on PC too. Apparently it's very difficult to get running on Windows 10, probably.
Yeah, I had some trouble setting it up, especially with resolution and things. But, no, I've got that on Switch. I'm enjoying it. Of course, I also plagued. Yep.
You plagued.
I also plagued Edge of Reality.
Oh, yes. The greatest game of all time.
Deathloop also came out. Not on Switch.
Deathloop did come out.
But I haven't played enough of it to name it my favorite. Skyward Sword, It Takes Two, which won Game of the Year. We Were Here, which is
also won a lawsuit from Take-Two. So there you go.
Fuck
Congratulations on your Game of the Year. Here's a lawsuit.
Yakuza 7 and Resident Evil 8. So
right.
you can
and
probably...
You did play Cyberpunk. I know it's obviously not your pick, but that's also...
thank you for reminding me that Cyberpunk was a part of that.
Yeah, no worries.
No, you're correct.
No
that's not my pick.
Alright, so what out of those, what are like the three that stand out?
The three standouts to me are Yakuza 7. Because anybody who's followed me for any of these podcasts knows that I've consistently said I'm playing that franchise and that I love that franchise.
It's just like me saying I'm always playing Resident Evil. And I don't even love that franchise.
Resident Evil 8, and I would say probably Skyward Sword. Which, yeah, it's a 10-year-old game, but I played it for the first time on the Switch, and I really enjoyed the game. It was actually a very solid Zelda experience, despite what I'd been told prior.
Alright, so out of those, which one is it? I'm gonna take a guess. Is it...
Yep.
See, I want to say Resident Evil Village is your pick, but given what I just heard you say, maybe Skyward Sword, but also because you never shut up about Yakuza, maybe it's that. Actually, all three of them are pretty valid choices.
If
you like Resident Evil Village, though.
I love Resident Evil Village. It is my favorite Resident Evil game.
But it's not your favorite game of the year?
That's where you're wrong. It is
no. See, I was right with my initial gut thing. I was like, that's it. But then I thought, no, that's...
I
you
laid
really
the
threw me
trap
through
well. No,
Resident Evil Village. Why is Resident Evil Village your favorite game, Lewin? Tell me.
Well, if you want to hear my full-on thoughts on it, we did do a podcast episode on this.
And just like last year, well, actually, we didn't do a lot of episodes this year on the stuff that we're going to talk about here. So, actually, yeah. No, keep going. We did an episode on it.
But, it has... so far, it is the best combined story to gameplay experience in Resident Evil, I find. A lot of times the story takes kind of a back seat to the gameplay of Resident Evil, because, it's survival horror. Occasionally you get some plot points, and like, haha, Wesker.
Oh, that cheeky bugger Wesker, what's he up to now?
But
basically every Resident Evil game ever made.
I enjoy what it did for Ethan as a character. I enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the gameplay. There's just a lot that I love about the game. It brought me to tears at the end, and I respect any game that can do that with, like, actual genuine feeling. Not just thank fuck I'm crying because it's over.
That was me, except without the crying. I was just like, yes, it's finally done. To be fair, look, I'm talking shit now, but, like, genuinely it's a good game, and I really enjoyed playing it at the time. It was just, for me personally, it was a game where I was just like, I didn't really feel anything playing it. Like, I think it's maybe because I was just expecting it to be like RE7.
Yeah,
it's just not like RE7 at all.
Yeah.
And I really just didn't enjoy a lot of it. I don't know, just for me personally, I just found the game just a lot of missed opportunity more than anything else. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's alright. It's a good game. It's a solid game.
It is the game that stuck with me the most this year.
I will say it's definitely, like, when I was putting this list together, it was the first thing that came to my mind. I will say that. Well, outside of Life is Strange. Life is Strange was already my pick before I even made the list. But, like, it was the next thing that came up in my mind. And that was weird because, like, Cyberpunk is a game I've sunk a lot of hours into. And even that didn't come up first. I think it was just because that came out in December 2020, and I kept forgetting that December 2020 was still valid, I think. But, yeah, no, it's a solid game. Like, I'll never say that it's a bad game or anything. And whenever I do, I'm joking. I'm not being serious. It's a fucking garbage game.
Thank you, Lara, for your support.
But let's move on to TV shows.
All right.
Oh... I had a lot of TV shows, and out of all of them, there is one very clear pick. But, let's talk about it. We've got all the MCU stuff this year. We got WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki.
Oh my god, that was all this year. Shit.
I know that's not all the MCU stuff, but don't care about What If, so... Those are the three. Out of those three, if any of them would be my favorite show, it would be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I do enjoy WandaVision as a character piece. I thought that was really good, but I wouldn't watch it again. You know what I mean? Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just, they're my boys. Like, I just love them so much, and it was a really solid fucking show. Good for character development. And Loki's just a bit of fun, but, like, it's not great. I will say, like, it's not as great as everyone makes it out it is. Like, it's fun and it's a good show, but it's not like S tier. I remember everyone was losing their shit over that show for some reason, and I'm like, it's not that good. Like, it's fine, but it's not that good. The other shows on here, we got Doctor Who Flux. We've got Alice in Borderland. I've got Arcane, Cowboy Bebop, You Season 3, The Serpent, which is that show with Jenna Coleman. I've got The Mandalorian Season 2, Sex Education Season 3, and Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. And I can tell you, out of all of that list, it's definitely not Doctor Who, and it's definitely not Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. Both of those shows I did not like. But out of the three, there are actually, out of all the shows there are 4 shows that really stand out to me this year. But the ones that did stand out to me was Sex Education Series 3, You Series 3, Arcane, and Alice in Borderlands. And You and Sex Education, both on their 3rd season, and were both really good. I would say You Series Season 3. I don't know if you've ever watched You.
I have not, but I've heard, like, pretty much the whole plot.
It is so fucking good. And this series was great. And it was the type of show... Like, I remember Season 1, and I was like, oh, that was pretty neat. But I was like, oh, they're doing a Season 2, and it's just going to be the same thing again. And then it wasn't. And then they move on to Season 3, and it's like, oh, it's going to be the same thing again. And then it wasn't. Like, it's insane just how they've managed to take that concept and do 3 completely different things with it. You Season 3 was so much fun. I really enjoyed that show. And Sex Education's always just a laugh. I don't know if you've seen that either, but like, that's the show with the Margot Robbie lookalike. Season 1 and 2 are absolute bangers, and Season 3 was no different. I have to say, Season 3 was very good. It took the characters in different directions to what you would expect them to go in. And I really enjoyed Season 3. It was a lot of fun. Those stand out to me. But out of the 2 shows, it'll either be Alice in Borderland or Arcane. And I you know which one I'm going to pick already. But yeah. I'm going to say just what it is, and then I'll talk about the other one just briefly, because I want to talk about it as well. But my favorite show of the year, and it's actually become my favorite show of all time, but that is the silly little League of Legends show on Netflix. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Arcane.
Haven't heard of it, no. No one talks about it.
That's my favorite show. You know what's interesting is it's currently on Netflix. It is the most streamed show on Netflix. Did you know that? It's beat out Stranger Things, which has previously held the top spot for the most streamed show on Netflix.
Did Squid Game not take it?
I don't think it did. I think it came close.
Either way, good for Arcane.
But yeah, Arcane, like, and isn't it just funny to think about that the silly little League of Legends show has just beat everything else this year on Netflix. Like, it's absolutely just come and dominated. In fact, even if you look more recently, it's actually the most streamed show across all streaming services recently.
Oh, damn.
Like, it's even beat out which was previously, I think, The Mandalorian, actually. And it's even beat out that. Like, people love Arcane. I love Arcane. But I think what's great about Arcane is, and I'm not going to go too deep on this because you haven't seen it and you need to see it, and I don't want to spoil it for you. But I think what people are just really resonating with is the story and the characters. Like, it would have been so easy for them to just take their little one-dimensional League of Legends characters and just make a little series, right? Like, it would have been just such an easy cash grab. And they decided, no, we're going to go hard, and we're going to tell a really deep, nuanced, character-driven drama that's, like, every character is so deep and nuanced, and all their character arcs affect the world around them and other characters, and, you know, the events that take place affect each character individually, and, you know, there's no good or bad. Like, everyone is just, you know, it's just so detailed, and it, on top of that, it has the best animation. Like, the animation, it's got a very specific style, but the animation is top tier. It's top tier. And when you realize that this show took them 6 years to make, you then start to understand why the animation is top tier. They didn't just pump this out. Like this was essentially the animation team that made this show. This was a love letter. Like it's very clear that they loved this world and these characters and they wanted to do it justice. Like all the animation is just perfection. The emotion in the faces is so real for an animation. Like it's just weird. There's a couple of really heart-wrenching, gut-punching scenes that are so effective at what they do because of those facial animations. Like it's so real. And this isn't like motion captured or anything either. Like this is animation and it's insane. Like the voice acting is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like what the fuck? Like the girl that plays the young version of Jinx, the young girl Powder, incredible. Like what the actual fuck? That apparently I think the actress that voiced her is like 14, 15 or something, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like what is this? Like look, you'll know the scene when you see it, but I was just sitting there like, are you joking? Like this performance is insane. But other than that, like the story's really good. It's got really great action scenes. Oh, I just want to talk about it, man. I just want to talk about it, but I can't.
I will watch it.
It's genuinely like... Here's the thing, though, is like I didn't get into it the first couple of episodes. Like I really didn't. Like I watched it and like they were good and I had fun, but I didn't get into it, right? And then episode 3 came on and was just like, nah. If you're not into it now, you'll be hooked by the end of this episode. And boy, was I hooked by the end of the episode. But yeah, Arcane is just... It's this absolute standout for me. Especially when you watch that and then you also immediately after finish... as you're watching Arcane, you're also watching Doctor Who Flux at the same time. The other show I wanted to bring up, because it's genuinely one of my favourite shows of all time as well. And I only just watched it this year. And that's actually Alice in Borderland, which is a Japanese death game show. Very similar to Squid Game. It's a very similar type concept. But that show, holy shit, fantastic character writing. Like, I was not expecting anything from that show. I was just like, oh, a friend of mine suggested to watch it. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, I could do with a laugh. Why not? So I thought, yeah, I'll watch it. We'll check this out, see what's going on. And I was not expecting what I got. Alice in Borderland was rough. Like, I got 3 episodes in, and I took, like, a full week break. Like, I had to. I just couldn't watch any more after, I think it was episode 3. It might have been episode 2, maybe. But I remember I watched episode 1 one night, I watched episode 2 the next night, watched episode 3 maybe a couple of days later because I was busy. And then I just had to take a break. And it was like a week. It was actually, I think it was about 2 weeks, actually, before I went back to watch episode 4 to 10. And I smashed out the rest of the series, but, like, that's a rough show. That's honestly such a great show. But it doesn't stand out as much as Arcane does in terms of... Like, it's got the characters there. For me, yeah. I don't care what the plot is. Like, I just found myself, I don't give a shit about the plot of a TV show or a movie. All that matters to me is, do we have 3-dimensional, deep characters, and do we have them go on that journey? And I just found those 2 are the shows that stand out in regards to that. And I'll definitely also say You Season 3 has an amazing character journey in that as well. But, yeah, my pick is Arcane for sure. Alice in Borderland was close, and honestly, it would have been Alice in Borderland if I didn't watch Arcane. But that's my 2 cents on TV shows for this year. Anyway, what about you?
I will get to Arcane eventually. And even maybe Alice in Borderland.
Oh, it's so good. Both shows are so good. What have you watched this year?
You actually reminded me of a few of the shows I've watched. I completely blanked that all the Disney Plus stuff was this year or December last year. Such as Mando. I forgot about Mando completely.
December, yeah.
So basically, I've watched Mandalorian, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, What If, Loki, WandaVision, and then, of course, I also watched Doctor Who Flux.
Doctor Who Flux? What's the Flux?
The Flux is going on. You still can't answer it without a 15-minute video.
It's my favourite thing.
Squid Game.
Anyway, Squid Game?
And
that wasn't on my list.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean.
You know what's interesting about Squid Game is it's not on my list at all, but it'd be on most people's lists because, like, it was a big show this year for some weird reason. Like, it just took off. Which I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I actually watched Squid Game before it was like big, because I think it dropped, and I don't think anyone talked about it initially. I think it was like a bit of a lag before people realized that it was really good. But the only reason I haven't watched Squid Game is simply because I watched Alice in Borderland, and I just was like, I'm not watching another show that's just like that right now. I need a break. That's when Doctor Who Flux came along.
The biggest death game of all. See how long you can last. I adding things to the list, my original pick was Squid Game. Because, fun fact, before we started recording this, I only had two options. I had Doctor Who and I had Squid Game, of which there was an obvious choice.
Yeah, I like yeah.
Doctor Who is still, by far, my TV passion. It's my favourite show of all time, even when it's shit.
Well, here's the thing, like, for me, it lost the rank of my favourite show of all time before it was shit. The reason why I lost it is because I just realised Orphan Black is better.
I think there are several shows better than Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's just the one that stays with me the most.
What are the standouts for you, though?
The standouts for me are...
Squid Game, obviously.
Squid Game, obviously. Mandalorian Season 2. But not because I think it's, like, the best thing. I just had fun with it. Because I do agree with you on my issue, on your issues with it.
Yeah. I do like this. You know what's funny? My issue is that I don't like that it's essentially just a promotion for future Star Wars projects. But then I also contradict myself by saying my favorite episode is the Ahsoka episode.
And I think I would say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure always has a special spot in my heart. I love JoJo's. It is my favorite anime.
I genuinely have no idea what that show's about.
It's about a lot of things. Don't try and understand.
Okay.
But I think do you want to guess what you think my pick would be?
It's one of the Marvel ones, isn't it?
Maybe.
What other shows did you have? Because you had Squid Game, Doctor Who, JoJo's and the Marvel ones, right? And Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say, is it not Squid Game anymore?
It's not Squid Game
It's
anymore.
not Squid Game. Okay, right. So we can rule out Doctor Who and Squid Game. Unless Doctor Who Flux is your favourite thing of the year, in which case that's a really sad year, but fair enough. I'm trying to think, because I remember we barely talked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki because we did our little rapid fire MCU thing. So I really don't actually know really what you think of those, to be honest. I barely remember our WandaVision episode, so I actually don't really know what you thought of that either. I remember our Mandalorian discussion though, because that was fun. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one, eh? Because I mean, like, there's a few good shows there. Okay, narrow it down for me. Is it an MCU show or is it a Mandalorian?
It is not an MCU show.
So it's a Mandalorian.
Didn't quite say that either.
What else would it be? You don't have anything else on the list.
There was JoJo's.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, fair enough.
Of which the answer...
So JoJo's?
It's JoJo's, yeah.
Nice. I actually like this edition we've got going on this year. Instead of it, like, because you know how the thing we always have is you trying to explain the plot of something to me? I love the bullshit awards this year where just got me trying to guess what yours are. It's fun. I'm really enjoying this. Anyway, why is JoJo's your favorite of the year?
JoJo's is my favorite of the year because it's not finished yet. But wait, actually, am I allowed to say JoJo's? Fuck, it might have been after the cutoff date. Now that I think about it.
Oh no,
Your
then it's
fam,
Amanda.
your fam, hold up. I need to hold up.
All right, well, let's just talk about how great Arcane is for a bit then. So when did it come out? Was
December 1st. Fuck. Wait.
Oh, you know what? Look, you can have that. That's fine.
All right. JoJo's is my favorite show of the year because, quite simply, it is the sixth part of a long-standing anime that I love. The animation style is beautiful. Or maybe not the animation style. The animation's a bit stunted, but the art style is beautiful. The animation for the opening is great. The characters are great. It's a fun show. I don't know how to explain it when you haven't seen anything to do with JoJo's.
Do you know what I find interesting about that is I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people be like, it's difficult to explain this show without seeing it.
It is. There's ghosts that punch people. But the ghosts are also just like manifestations of a person's soul. It gets wackier and crazier than any part before. It's all about a girl who gets sent to prison on false charges. She's the daughter of the third part's protagonist. And it's all about a prison break while the world goes to shit. There's only 12 episodes out of, assumably, 38 episodes. But it's wackier than ever before. Small spoiler, I guess, or like, so far, just because I have a lot of fun with it. In the end, I don't really rank things on what I consider good. I rank them on what I have fun with. Which Mandalorian would almost take it purely just for the finale scene. Actually, the whole finale. I quite like the whole finale of Mando. Where else are you going to see a girl get miniaturized and put into a gutted out mouse to fulfill some other girl's pleasure? No pleasure in a sexual way, just pleasure.
Yeah, you're right. Don't try to explain it to someone who has no fucking clue, because that just sounded so weird.
Yep.
I'm just like sitting here like, what the fuck is that? We got one more category left though, Lewin, and if you don't mind, we got to talk about No Time to Die, so let's just move right along. We got one more category left, and that is movies.
Yes.
Now, I believe you said you haven't seen a lot this year.
No, I have seen 5 movies.
Hang on, let me count mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen 6.
Nice.
So we both haven't seen a lot then. But I'll go through. So my movies on my list, we've got Black Widow, Last Night in Soho, No Time to Die, Free Guy, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and The Suicide Squad. Those are all the movies I've seen that have come out in the past 12 months. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Free Guy. That movie is a fucking fun time. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not, but I've heard a lot of people say that it pleasantly surprised them.
I was expecting nothing because it's a Ryan Reynolds movie.
They do kind of just have their own section, don't they?
Yeah, I love that Ryan Reynolds is genuinely in the stage of his career where he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, he literally can just make whatever movie he wants. Like, they're mostly bad. And he's always playing the exact same character. But it's just like, he's just at the stage of his career where he could just do that. It's like Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson's the stage of his career. Like, Dwayne Johnson's in, 5 films every year. Like, he's always in heaps of movies. And he's just pretty much always playing the same character. Like, I mean, maybe with the exception of the Jumanji movies, where, in the first one, he's playing, a teenager. And in the second one, is he playing Danny DeVito in that one?
Yes.
I think, yeah. So, with the exception of those ones, he's usually playing the same character. But I like that those two actors just pop up everywhere. But that was a fun movie. Definitely recommend watching it. As you know, I love me a bit of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Black Widow was good. until maybe the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, the last act was really stupid.
It was really stupid. And the reason why I liked the rest of the movie is because it reminded me of the things that I like the most in the MCU. The Winter Soldier. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was just like that, like boots on the ground, spy espionage type thing. And I really loved that. And then it just got all batshit stupid at the end. Like, at least in Winter Soldier, it makes sense because you've got Falcon with his wing technology. You've got like obviously the big helicarriers firing on each other, and Bucky and Sam are fighting on one of them. But like, it makes sense that there's like this big action set piece at the end. Well, with this, Black Widow literally just jumps off the fucking thing. And then she's like, what doesn't she like run and jump across like fucking debris and shit?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's Black Widow, guys.
Only enough,
it's Black Widow.
That's not the part that took me out of it. It was actually just the existence of that flying base.
Oh, and the whole plot by that point was just fucking stupid. The villain was just like hanging out on his little flying fucking... What a great way to take all the backstory of Natasha Romanoff and just fucking ruin it. Yeah, good movie, 10 out of 10. The Suicide Squad is a very clear standout of the year. It's a very, like, and that's weird to say about a DC movie, but like, it genuinely was one of my favorite movies of the year. But honestly, like, we did a whole episode on it. But honestly, there's two movies that stand out to me the most.
Yeah.
And that is No Time to Die, which we will talk about soon, and Last Night in Soho. Okay? And it was genuinely hard. Like, the other two, Arcane was easy, Life is Strange was easy. Easy picks. This was a genuine struggle because I was like, I don't know if it's either one of these two or whether it's even the Suicide Squad, because I really love that movie. But I'm going to give it to Last Night in Soho. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because you haven't seen it. But, you know, Edgar Wright is my favorite director, which is well established here on this podcast. And Last Night in Soho was an experience. It was an experience. It's unlike anything he has ever made before. It's completely unique in his catalogue of films. But it is also so distinctly Edgar Wright. Like, it's so, like, you could watch it and go, yeah, that's an Edgar Wright film. But I really love the story of it, and I love in that movie that you genuinely just don't know what the fuck is going on until the end. Like, I'm not even kidding. You don't know what the fuck's going on in that movie until about the last 10 minutes, and then you're just like, oh, fuck, that's what was going on. And it's just a great mystery. Obviously, being Edgar Wright, you know, he loves doing little filmmaking things. We got some really great, you know, visual imagery in there, really great stuff. There's a lot of this film, like Baby Driver, actually is mostly a soundtrack. Mostly. It's not like Baby Driver where everything's all in sync with a soundtrack. There's certainly still a little bit of that here, but you know, it's like every scene has its own song almost. And it's also Edgar Wright does horror, which is such an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's very out of his wheelhouse, weirdly enough.
Yeah, that's
which
what
is
I'm saying.
what's
like,
good about him.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's what he does. I like about him because he always does something different every movie. And it's a really good movie, and it's genuinely, you know, it's got some amazing performances in it, amazing cinematography. There is a great scene. It's actually the dance scene early on in the film. It's between Matt Smith's character and Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and also the other girl's name, Thompson's Mackenzie or whatever
Mackenzie
her name
Johnson,
is.
Yep.
Is it the other way around? Who cares? Doesn't matter. But it's with those three, and everything in that, apart from two moments, was all done practically on set. Because like when you watch the trailer, you know what the plot of the film is, right? You've got her character kind of reliving or experiencing the memories of Anya Taylor-Joy's character. And so there's a dance sequence where Matt Smith and her are dancing together, and it's switching out between the two actresses who are dancing with Matt Smith, but it's all in one take, and apart from two very specific moments that were done digitally, it's all done practically in camera. And like there's actually a great interview where Edgar Wright was talking about it, and he was talking about like it, you know, like with an Edgar Wright film, there's always that scene that involves a lot of choreography, a lot of timing between the camera department, the actors, everything. And the whole time that scene is playing out, the camera is moving around them. So you've got these actors who are switching out the position, and Matt Smith's just basically in the center with his like drink, and he's just dancing, and you'll see like his hand go off screen, and then it'll come back in with a different actor. It's just such a really well done scene. It looks really good, and the two moments that are digital are very stand out, like, but they're not stand out in a bad way. Like you're just like, yeah, like if you understand filmmaking, you're like, yeah, that has to be digital. You can't do that physically. But there's moments like that. There's a lot of great visual imagery. It's just a fucking good movie, man. It's just so good. You need to watch it, along with just everything else, you know.
It is. It is on my watch list, mainly because it's Edgar Wright and Matt Smith, but also I do have to watch it for the podcast eventually, one day.
Matt Smith is really good in it.
I'm glad to hear that, because I've heard nothing about this film since it released, and the showing times in Canberra are fucked.
It's probably because the film came out like a full month before it came out here.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's on digital now too,
What?
by the way. Yeah. It's on streaming service somewhere, so you know you can sail the 7 seas for it if you want.
Not my
Just
style, but thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, I can hook you up if you like. I can pop it in a drive for you and send it through. I have it. It's right here.
I've actually just found out that the other cinema in my city actually has better showing times. Thanks, Hoyts, for being shit.
Yeah, fuck Hoyts. Classic Hoyts. But what about you? What's your... What movies have you seen this year?
I have also seen 6 movies.
Wow, that number's gone up since we last talked about it.
You said Black Widow, and I was like, oh, that was this year.
Yeah, that did come out this year. It's weird because that movie was released on Disney Plus.
I think that's probably why, because you'll notice, earlier, I didn't have any of the Disney Plus stuff in my TV shows. So I have seen Suicide Squad, Mortal Kombat, Justice League,
Mortal Kombat.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, sorry, because I will never watch Joss Whedon's.
I thought you just said you watched both. You were like, I've seen Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
No, I'm rearing that I've not seen Joss Whedon's, and I will never watch it.
Yeah, nah, don't ever subject yourself to that.
No Time to Die, Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter. That's the Paul W.S. Anderson,
Yes.
Mila Jovovich one.
And
I gotta watch that.
I'll be honest, I actually enjoy the movie. It's a fucking awful movie, but I enjoy it. It's better than Resident. It's better than the final chapter.
Oh, look, it's not going to be difficult. Like, I expect the new movie is going to be better than the final chapter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's very hard to be better than that fucking mess. Oh. And you know what insults me most about that movie, Lewin?
What?
It's not the continuity. Even though I made a whole video about the continuity, it's not the continuity that insults me. It's the editing. As an editor, it hurts to watch. Anyway.
And
so Monster Hunter.
Yep. And Black Widow.
The Black Wids. The Wids. Yep. I don't know where I was going with that. So don't worry about it.
My 3 standout films would be Suicide Squad, No Time to Die, and Mortal Kombat, surprisingly enough, which is also not a good film. But again, I enjoy it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because when my other options are Black Widow, Monster Hunter, and Justice League, I have to pick something for a third spot.
Yeah. Justice League's great though, but yeah, fair. You know me though, like I love me the Zack Snyder films.
Yes, and we both know I very much do
Although,
not.
I will say, I think my favorite one has become Man of Steel. I think that's the best one out of all of
I
them.
would agree.
Like, I haven't even rewatched that recently, but like just thinking about it, like I've seen clips from it, and I think that was, that was also like young Henry Cavill, or like fuck, I'm Superman, where now he's like, I'm Superman, and I'm also Geralt and possibly Bond, and who knows? But yeah, like I don't know, it's a good movie. I like that movie.
I would agree
yeah,
that it
anyway.
is the best of the.
Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I'm interrupting your picks again. Sorry, go ahead.
End of the day, I would say, it actually became quite tough because while you were listing off yours, I was going back and forth, going, I do really like Suicide Squad though.
It's a good one, isn't it?
It is.
Like that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Because it also was something that I was dreading going to see, because I fucking hate the original. But I went to see it, and I left that theater going, that was a fucking brilliant movie.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was always gonna be better, just because I was like, it's James Gunn.
I knew it was gonna be better.
You know,
I was
like,
just like,
I don't like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, just as more of a personal preference thing. But like, I mean, he can make a banger of a movie. So like, I was expecting it to be good. I just wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was.
that was the same
It's
issue
like-
I had in the end.
Yeah, it was it's a solid pick. It's a good one. But yeah, what is your actual pick?
It's I still
Or is it Suicide Squad? Is that what you said?
I think one is like James Gunn at like his most James Gunnsiest, and I love it, and because it's just a no holds barred fun adventure.
It's a movie where James Gunn was literally told you can make and do whatever the fuck you want, and he's like, right, Starro, like let's fucking go.
If you want to see either of our feelings on that, we do have a whole episode to that. But
We do, yeah. Just like last year, this is a big advertisement for our year of podcasts.
it's, but then there is No Time to Die, which is a very solid action film, that ties up a complete era of Daniel Craig's Bond, and I think because I'm happy to just put Suicide Squad aside and not watch it again for a while. I've got this weird hankering.
I know what you're saying. Like, I genuinely want to watch No Time to Die again soon. Like, and I know what you're saying about Suicide Squad. Like, I don't want to watch Suicide Squad again for a while. Like, I'd like to see it, watch it again.
Yeah.
Someday, but not right now.
But I have this weird hankering to go watch No Time to Die again.
I've got it right here.
I'm gonna say
It's on my hard drive. It's right here.
I'm gonna say No Time to Die is my personal pick of the year, very closely followed by Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's good. I'm also glad we talked about Suicide Squad then, because it means now like we can. Because you said it earlier, I was leaving yours till last, because then it would be the perfect segue into our actual topic for the episode. But I'm also glad you padded it out a little bit by talking about Suicide Squad. But yeah, unlike all the other awards, I'm not going to have you explain why that's your pick, because we're just going to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Not Suicide Squad. Fuck.
Suicide Die.
What is it?
Suicide Die. No Time to Squad.
No Time to Squad. The latest Daniel Craig Bond movie. Like I said at the start of the episode, we did a full episode on the entire Daniel Craig era, and I think it's fair to say, I don't want to go into it because we have a whole episode on that, but I think it's fair to say it's a mixed bag. You've got some really fucking good movies, and then you've got some pretty bad movies. But before we get into it, where? I mean, I already know the answer because it's your favorite film of the year. But like, is it one of the good ones or is it one of the bad ones?
It's one of the good ones for sure.
Where would you rank it though?
I'm actually having a tough time putting it because, as we know, Skyfall is normally my favorite Daniel Craig film and my favorite Bond film. I just really like the style of Skyfall.
Skyfall is a banger.
No Time to Die, I think, might be just below it. I think it's my second favorite, followed by Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Spectre. Spectre doesn't even deserve a fucking spot on the list, but there it is.
I seem to remember you being a little bit more positive about it last year.
I probably was. It's been a whole year.
Did you rewatch them though? You rewatched them, right? You said you rewatched them. Was that you?
Yeah, I rewatched them.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. That makes sense then.
I just really...
Because I was going to rewatch them, and then I was like, "Oh, No Time to Die is available on streaming. Oh, just watch that." Available on streaming. You can't, because this is a podcast. You can't see me, but I'm winking. I'm winking right now. It's available on streaming. But hey, look, that's what happens when you're not releasing your movies here in Australia at the same time as everyone else.
We
right?
get it. We had the coronies. You don't have to punish us for it.
Exactly. But yeah, like for me, you know what? I really struggle with like deciding where to put this because. And I think I'm going to have to rewatch it again before I can really make, like, this is where I would place it. Because I'm going to actually rewatch all of them. I'm going to rewatch all 5 of them, and I'm just going to go through after I've done that. I don't think, for me, it's better than Casino Royale. I think Casino Royale is too perfect of a movie for it to be better than, like, for No Time to Die to be better. Like Casino Royale is a masterclass in filmmaking. It's a masterclass. Like, you go to film school, you don't need to go to film school. Just watch Casino Royale. That's your film school right there. It's just perfect. It's a perfect film. Skyfall is fantastic. It's also, I would say, a masterclass in filmmaking. But for me, honestly, I think I like No Time to Die more than Skyfall. I think. And I think the reason why is because No Time to Die absolutely nails the kind of resolution, the wrapping up of things.
Yeah.
You know, this doesn't, like, I mean, look, I would have been perfectly happy if Spectre was the last Daniel Craig film. I mean, look, let's be honest, for probably a while it was going to be the last Daniel Craig film. It's not a great movie, but it's not bad, I would say, either. I would just say it's mediocre. It's fairly run-of-the-mill, you know, it's like Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who when it's not really bad, it's just mediocre, right?
Yeah.
In fact, we could just insert the Chris Chibnall clip right here, and that also describes what was the last film called? Spectre. Could have been slightly better written. What else does he say in that clip? He's like, it was very routine. You know, that's Spectre, right?
Spectre was very much a Skyfall V2 attempt.
It was an attempt to recreate Skyfall, but it was also a very much by-the-numbers generic Bond script.
Yeah. Which is funny, because
I
I would
would've
actually class... Sorry, I would class No Time to Die as a very by-the-numbers Bond script. But I have way much more fun with it than I had with Spectre.
See, I think the difference there, though, is... I think there's a bit more of a personal... emotional story going on in No Time to Die, where Spectre is very much just Bond on a mission.
Followed by, like, 10 minutes of romance. If that.
Yeah, but I would have been perfectly fine if that was his last one as well, because it ends in a satisfying place. You know, they felt the need to tie the entire Daniel Craig era together for some weird reason in that film. Not in the same way they do in this movie. Like, this movie ties the whole Daniel Craig era together, but it does it better. Where I think with Spectre, it was kind of shoehorned in there right at the end. But like the way it ends with Bond retiring and going on. I'm like, that's, fair enough, right? Fair enough. If we never saw Daniel Craig's Bond again, and the last shot we saw of him or whatever in that film is him walking off with Madeline Swan, or driving in the Aston Martin, or whatever the last shot is, then
so be it.
Fair enough. The Daniel Craig era went out on a whimper, but fine. But I'm glad he came back, because it's so much more satisfying to say that No Time to Die is the conclusion to the Daniel Craig era. There were some things I didn't like in No Time to Die. I am gonna say that. But like those things are so minor in the grand scheme of things that like they don't really matter too much. But yeah, I'm glad he came back to do another one, because it was certainly worth coming back for. I'm glad he didn't slit his wrists. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I think I don't know, it's really tough, like, because Skyfall is very much that emotional, like, Casino Royale isn't an emotional Bond journey, but it's just a perfect fucking movie. I mean, it is at the end, right? Like, it's pretty, like, a personal Bond emotional story at the end.
Yeah.
But, like, for the most part, it's just, like, Bond on his first adventure, where, like, Skyfall is kind of, like, I don't know.
Skyfall was literally
like
taking that Bond back to his roots. You are seeing where he came from, what builds him up as a person. It's the first time, I think it's the first time you ever actually get, like, a proper introspective look at Bond as a character.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And No Time to Die is a great way to wrap it all up.
Yeah.
I think. It's a fantastic film. But yeah, let's talk about No Time to Die for a bit. I've left this to last at the end of this episode just purely because, like, I know, you and I like to go on for a long time about things, but I really don't see that there's a lot of value in us talking about this film for very long, just simply because this film's, like, been out for a couple of months at this point. So I think just getting a general, and that's a pity. I would have liked to do a full episode on it, I think.
Maybe one day we can do another retrospective look at Bond and for No Time to Die.
Maybe, and we can go more in depth. But like, I'm not saying we can't have the, like, we can sit here and talk about it for half an hour, like, if you want. That's fine. I don't care. But like, I'm just saying, like, we don't need to go really super in depth on this one, just simply because of how old it is now.
I don't have, like, too much to say about the whole film as a whole.
And to be honest, for me as well, it's been a few weeks since I've seen this, and if I wanted to talk about it in depth, I really would like to see it again. And my plan was actually to see it again, but then I thought we were doing the bullshit awards as well, so I thought I might not see it again.
If I were to go more in depth, I would also like to see it again.
But this film basically picks up literally pretty much where Spectre leaves off, essentially.
Yeah, it's him and his girlfriend.
Him and Madeline going around, doing bits and pieces.
They're on their little romantic getaway in Italy.
And Bond goes to see Vesper's grave.
Which was a kind of a weird callback.
I did find that was a bit of an odd time for him to do that. Like, why would he do that now? But, like, I mean, I guess maybe just Vesper, like, meant a lot to him in that regard. Like, maybe in a way that Madeline might ever could. And I'm not just talking about the chemistry, am I right? I actually thought their chemistry was way better in this film. Like, I actually thought the two of them actually had chemistry, where I felt like in the last movie it was so unbelievable that Bond would fall for Madeline like that. But at least in this movie it makes sense. Like, they're really good. Like, that scene where, like, they're saying goodbye to each other as she gets on the train. Oh, that's a pretty solid scene.
I think...
Oh, yeah, by the way, Vesper's grave blows up or some shit, and then Spectre's after him trying to kill him, and he jumps off that bridge, and you know, stuff
I
happens.
think that does lead to stuff happens. 1 year. How many years go by? 5 years. Five.
It's 5 years.
5 years go by.
Right.
He hasn't talked to her in ages.
Hasn't talked to anyone in ages. He's just been living the life.
He's gone back to his Skyfall roots, except
Yeah, except he's not like drunk and depressed now. He's just retired.
he actually got out.
Yeah, he's not actually dead this time. Although MI6 think he's dead because he went off the grid.
And MI6 has their own stuff going on. MI6's whole plot is literally like 70s James Bond.
There's a lot going on in this movie in terms of like where Bond kind of stands, because a lot of it is like the movie, because the first part of the movie is him essentially working with Felix Leiter and the CIA, and then M's like, oh wait, what the fuck you doing, bro? Like, come on. And you know, and then we get introduced to the new 007. What's that actual character's name though? Do you remember what her name is?
I cannot.
Hang on. I'm gonna look up the cast list. No Time to Die cast. So let's see who she's playing. Nomi.
No.
Nomi. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, like, so we have a new 007, obviously, because 007 James Bond has retired, so of course his code name has been passed on to a new agent.
Which I did like the little line from M of you didn't think we'd, or no, was it M or Nomi who said you didn't, Nomi said you didn't think they'd retire the number for you, did?
Yeah,
with that little knock at
like
him.
he was hoping. But I really liked her. I remember there was such a backlash to, and really when you think about it, all the backlash was just to her having the code name 007. Remember the backlash?
Yes, I do.
It's insane, like, especially because, like, in the film, yeah, I mean, like, even I was always saying this, like, when there was the whole backlash to her being the new 007, you know, and everyone was calling, you know, No Time to Die woke garbage because, you know, now the word woke means absolutely nothing. It essentially means whatever you don't like, essentially. Like, if you don't like something, it's woke trash these days. And then if that's the case, then Doctor Who Flux is woke trash. If that's the meaning we're using for woke these days, then yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. It was a weird thing. The internet's a weird place.
Tis a silly place.
But she's great. I really like her.
I really like her.
She's fun.
The movie excels in giving us characters like that have never shown up before. And making us care about them, which is quite an impressive feat for movies into a semi-connected franchise.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. Of course, we have all the standard...
you got the old guard.
MI6 crew. We got the Ben Whishaw as Q, the Naomi Harris as Moneypenny, and of course Ralph Fiennes as M. But in this film, we also saw Jeffrey Wright return as Felix Leiter.
Which I was happy about because I love Felix.
The boy is back. And Christoph Waltz is also back as Blofeld in this. But then we have a bunch of new characters. Like I said, the new 007. We have that CIA agent who turns out to be a Spectre agent.
Yes, Logan Ash. What a lad.
Yeah, we got him. We got Ana de Armas's character, who was only in the movie for like 5 minutes, but she's like a standout in the movie. Like, she's so good. And it's actually
Sorry, yeah, it's actually.
I was just gonna say it's actually weird because I think it's definitely casting against type for Ana de Armas. Like, as soon as I saw Ana de Armas was in this, and like I saw in the trailers, I'm like, she's gonna be like a badass like agent. And she's like this rookie who's still badass, but she's also like this very not confident rookie agent who's
so
just
many
kind of
death flags were raised.
Yeah,
I was
like as
so
soon as
positive
I was
she
like,
was gonna
you
die.
You were gonna die. Isn't that interesting? Like, because usually in Bond films you'll have two Bond girls. One Bond girl will die, and then the other one is like the main Bond girl. We didn't get that this movie.
Bond
We didn't
himself
get
was the Bond girl.
Bond himself. Bond was the real Bond girl all along. Oh yeah, spoilers by the way.
Huh? I was just saying that he took the place of a Bond girl. But yeah, no. But spoilers. Bond dies.
Yeah, yeah. But I really, I mean, I guess you could also, if we're talking about people that die. Felix Leiter also was the Bond girl this time round. I guess
had that spoiled for me.
You know, I didn't have that spoiled for me. I had Bond dying spoiled.
I had Bond dying spoiled for me, like a week before I went to see the movie.
I had it spoiled for me literally within days of it coming out. Because someone posted the fucking clip on YouTube and it came up on my recommended feed. And it said, James Bond's death, no time to die. And it was just a picture in the thumbnail of like this guy recording in the cinema. And it was just that scene where Daniel Craig's looking up at the missiles that are about to annihilate him. And he's just looking up at the sky when he, you know, says like, when Madeline's like, oh, she has your eyes. And he's like, I know. It's that moment that was the thumbnail. And I looked at it and of course I clicked on it. Obviously, I've already had it spoiled for me. I might as well watch it. And I looked at it and I remember hating it. I was like, nah. That's a terrible ending. Why would you do that? Why would you kill Bond like that? I did not like it at all. But then the reason why I didn't like it is I didn't have that context, right?
Yeah.
And in the film, it's way better. I liked it in the film. I was a little salty watching the film because I knew that it was coming up, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy the ride to get to the part that I don't like or agree with, and then we'll just go from there. But you know what, I ended up liking that. I was like, you know what, in the context of the film, in the moment, in the scene, it's really good. And plus, I did see some reviews where people were genuinely confused because they thought, you know, like Bond was an idiot in those final scenes and like his death happens because it's like a Han Solo situation where you've got the actor who's like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely think Bond dying was a Daniel Craig thing. Like, I think he probably went, hey,
you're not
like,
getting me back.
This is how I want this to end.
I think,
but like I just thought it was shit. But then I watched the movie and I was like, hey,
and I think it works well for Daniel Craig's Bond as a character. The man is depressed. When you look at everything around Daniel Craig's Bond for his whole era, he has nothing. Yeah, Ben Q is like a friend acquaintance. Moneypenny's a friend. You know, he doesn't go out for drinks with any of the lads after work.
Yeah, I think the person he's had the most drinks with is probably Felix Leiter. And up until this film, he hasn't probably seen Felix in like a decade. Felix is bald now. He has no hair anymore.
Everyone's like, you know, people... I've seen people call it stupid because, like, why would you just choose to die? Just don't go see your loved one. All he had left anymore was his loved one and daughter.
Here's the thing, like, he didn't... I think people were just confused because he didn't choose to have them. Like, I mean, he would have been perfectly fine if... oh god, what's... I've forgotten the name of Remi Malek's character.
Safin. Something like that.
Safin, yeah. Like, he would have been totally fine if, you know, he actually was, you know, was dead and didn't fucking inject him with a shit.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He just killed him straight away. He'd be fine. Like, he'd be able to get off. He had plenty of time to go there, you know, open the blast doors and then get off the island in time. He had so much time to do it. So it's not his fault. I remember reading reviews where I think people who had just seen it for the first time were a little bit confused by, you know, why would the doors, you know, why wouldn't he make sure the doors open? And I remember they were really confused about the whole nanobots thing. But in the film, it makes perfect sense. Like, it makes perfect sense. And I really liked it. I liked the whole bit. I absolutely adored the one take up the stairwell action sequence. That was great. That was good stuff. Like, there's even a moment in that whole thing where a grenade explodes and Bond gets like knocked up against the wall and then they just keep going. I'm like, this is...
It goes on for the
amazing.
perfect amount of time. It doesn't
Yeah,
overstay its welcome.
yeah, definitely.
I think the movie has a lot of high moments that I quite liked the forest hunt down
Oh,
when they're on the way to the
how
base.
good is that? Yeah.
It's the most ingenuity we've seen since Casino Royale.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in this film.
It's I enjoyed the
In terms of the action sequences, I mean.
yeah
Like, I mean, that was another thing I think Spectre really didn't have going for it, was the action sequences were fairly mediocre themselves.
yeah
Like, they weren't very good themselves. And I mean, that probably had a lot to do with the fact that Daniel Craig was just... his leg was fucked. So that's probably why they weren't that good. But, like, even in Quantum of Solace, even though the editing's pretty bad, like, those action sequences are exciting.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's a lot going on in those action sequences. You know, the car chase at the start, it's so poorly edited, but man, is it exciting. Man, is it a good, fun thing to watch. I still go back and watch that chase sequence just on YouTube. Like, it's so good just to sit and watch. Fun fact, the guy who did the driving for Bond in that scene, the stunt driver was actually the Stig in Top Gear.
Awesome.
It's the same guy. Yeah, this is we found this out after we found out who the Stig was. After everyone found out, because I remember they did this fake out on Top Gear where they were like, "Oh, the Stig is actually that fucking F1 driver," but it wasn't really him. It was some other guy, and then eventually that guy wrote a book and was actually fired from being the Stig because he wrote a book about it. But that's how we found out who the Stig was. And yeah, he was like, and I was also Daniel Craig's stunt driver in Quantum of Solace, and I was like, nice. Anyway, that was a random tangent. Had nothing to do with
anything. I was
anything.
going to say my random fun fact about No Time to Die. As we know, Skyfall had the magnificent bike chase, for the over the rooftops, and in true tradition, we got another one, not bike chase per se, but just a small little bike scene in No Time to Die when they're in Italy. In order to get the bike to stick to the road properly, they poured like thousands of pounds worth of Coca-Cola all over the road to keep the bike sticking. Keep it frick.
Right.
Just for that scene.
That's weird.
Good scene too.
Good scene, yeah. There's a lot of great scenes in this. We got also, let's talk about something that I just reminded myself of. Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack for this.
Yes.
Like, is that wild? Because I definitely didn't think this wasn't your, like, typical Hans Zimmer style soundtrack. It has, I think it was very different.
Some moments where you can maybe go, oh yeah, no, that's Hans Zimmer. But most of the time I was like, yeah, this is the guy from the last movie, ain't it? And then, no, it was not.
Yeah, it was very good. I will say, like, I want to talk about some stuff briefly that I didn't like in this. Yeah. I didn't like Blofeld, his whole bit at all. Like, I liked him in the scene, but I just thought it was kind of pointless.
The one thing I did like about Blofeld, because I didn't like Blofeld all that much either. The one thing I did like about him was just the one scene where, Bond's gone through agony for 5 fucking years thinking that Madeline betrayed him, and Blofeld's like, the bomb in the grave, that was me. I'm like,
yeah, lol, got you good.
I'm like, huh.
He was also doing that weird, like, cuckoo thing that he was doing in the last movie.
He's nothing if not consistent.
Like, I actually liked him better in this
Same.
movie, but I just found it pointless bringing him back at all. Because he does nothing, right? Like, he's imprisoned, and then he kind of just teases Bond for a little bit, and then he just fucking dies. Like, it was just pointless bringing him back at all, really. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like his inclusion. Like, it felt like bringing him back for the sake of bringing him back.
Yeah.
rather than like actually having an interesting reason to bring him back.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't like was I didn't like that Felix Leiter died. I did not like that at all. I wasn't a fan of that scene, only just because I really like Felix Leiter as a character, and I don't know. As soon as he was like, oh yeah, you know, like, didn't he say there was a line of dialogue where he was like, like Bond said, oh, like, let's get this done or something so you can go back home and see your wife or whatever. I was like, fuck, Felix is gonna die, isn't he?
The death flag
You
had to
know,
work
like,
on someone.
And yeah, he died, and I don't know, like, I like the scene where he does, you know, pass, but I don't know, that just didn't really sit right with me. I didn't even really know why, to be honest.
It didn't hit me as hard as I kind of would have liked it to.
Yeah, it kind of didn't. I mean, look, Felix Leiter isn't a big part of these movies anyway, right? Like, he's only appeared a couple of times, and yeah,
I did like just
he only had like minor roles.
yeah, I did like the enhancement of their relationship.
Yeah, you do definitely get the sense that they're like, you know, pals that go back years.
Yeah, and it's really nice, that inclusion. One thing I didn't like was kind of the weird villainization of M.
Oh yeah, M's a bit of a cunt this movie.
Yeah, especially after like his whole, you know, his morally upstanding appearance in Spectre, against Moriarty.
Yeah,
It kind of feels like they've
Yeah.
done like 180'd his character, and it's like, oh yeah, this mistake I made years ago, and it's like this feels really contrived to just get the main point of like the main backup of the movie. Like if it'd been like, I know this movie probably had like no standing in the universe at all when Skyfall came out. I would have liked it if, you know, something had been mentioned before, which is feasibly impossible because, you know, didn't exist out of universe. What can we do about it? It just didn't feel natural.
yeah.
Not sure what your feelings on that are. I didn't like how M was the bad guy for most of the movie.
I mean, look, I think we've seen very little of this M.
Yeah.
To like, I think, get attached to it in a way where like if he is presented as a villain, it like really matters that much. But I think if you're gonna do it with anyone, I think Ray Fiennes is a good choice to do that with. You know, because like I mean, I couldn't really imagine Judi Dench's M being antagonizing in a way, you know, like she'd be an antagonizing in a like you know, telling Bond off in like a mother kind of way, telling Bond off for being a naughty boy.
See, I can see
But,
her doing the fuck up more than Ray Fiennes M.
Yeah, doing the fuck up, but yeah, like I just mean in terms of like the general.
Yeah, no, I
tone,
agree with
like,
you
how
on Ray
M is
Fiennes M
presented.
doing that.
He's the perfect one to do it with. He's a great actor for it. There's a lot of stuff like I said, the action's really good. I really liked Madeline Swan in this movie as well. Leah Seydoux was really good. And like I said, the chemistry between them is a lot more believable in this
quite
movie.
enjoyed the cabin talk.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of great scenes between just the two of them. One thing I actually, you know what, I really did like that the villain of the film had like a base. Because I know like last film we had that as well, but like this was like a proper like villain's lair type thing. Like even the room that he just like chills in, his office, was just like, this is a villain's lair. Like this is like the same kind of shit you would have seen like back in the day with Sean Connery, where like Blofeld's had the volcano base. You know, the base built within the volcano, and it was a fake volcano and shit. Like, it's just that kind of shit, and I really loved that this film. Where I found with, like, Blofeld's base last film, Blofeld's base was just, like, a facility. Like, it was just a place. It didn't have that, like, iconic feel
You only ever see
you would
one
expect a
room.
Bond villain to have. Yeah, exactly. Where this felt like a proper villain's base. You know, it was good stuff. I really do.
Props to...
What I didn't enjoy...
I was going to say props to Remi Malek for Safe, and I actually really liked him in the movie.
I liked him. I was about to say, though, I really don't like the villain, his character. And, like, not like, don't like it in the sense, like I always try to toe the line with things, don't I? But, like, I not that I don't like it in the sense that, like, it's bad. Like, I think he's fine, but I think he's not, like, he doesn't sit up there. You know, like, he's not what I'm going to remember about this movie.
It's some of the actions that he does that I think the character's pretty like, oh yeah, your dad killed my family and now I'm gonna do the same to you and cycle. It's like, yeah, alright, had this whole spiel before. It's more the actions of the things that he does in the movie. Like, the opening scene of the movie of him showing up at the cabin is fucking chilling to me.
I'm generally confused by the timeline of all of this.
He looks very good for his age.
Yeah, like, he must be, like, he's got to be, like...
50s, right?
56, you know, he'd have to be, like, nearly 60, surely.
Yeah.
Because, like, he just looks like Remi Malek. Like, I know we only ever see him with his mask on, and I think that was the point. But, like, it's just Remi Malek in, like, say his 20s or 30s, because he's not, like, a kid, and he's not a teenager, and he's definitely in his late 20s or 30s, so, yeah, 50s.
Yeah, because
and he looks like he's, like, 29.
It was a problem I had with the whole movie whenever he showed up, because I was like, you look way too young to have been involved with any of this.
Yeah, I'm like, that was a bizarre thing. Like, don't get me wrong, and Remi Malek's barely in this movie as well. Like, he's not in it a lot. He's in that opening scene, and then he appears in, like, a scene with Madeline Swan later on. And then he doesn't really appear again until the base, really.
No.
Like, he's not really in the movie that much. And I think that's good. Like, I like a Bond villain that isn't in the movie a lot, necessarily.
I think it worked well for this movie in particular, because we're not focused on the end of the world threat in its entirety. This is very much just a vehicle.
Oh yeah, that's right. This was very much like a worldwide scale.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, what the plot of this movie, but we haven't even talked about that.
Diseases.
Yeah, it's basically like nanobots in the bloodstream or something, but basically the idea with it is they can be programmed to DNA. So when you're infected, it doesn't affect you. But if you touch someone who's the disease, like the nanobots are programmed to, then it kills them. It's such a weird, like, it's almost a sci-fi thing. Like, it's a bit silly, I will say. Especially for this era. Like, you know, this era of Bond has been very much the less silly era of Bond and much more realistic. Like, you've got Casino Royale, which is all about, you know...
the most out-of-the-world part of Casino Royale is the fucking car.
And it's just a car, too.
It's just got defibs. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. Like, it's not like a car with gadgets. It's just got defibs in it. It's got a weapon. It's a car for spy, but it's not like a gadget car, right? It's just a car. Where, like... Yeah, in this movie, you've got, like, the gadgets and shit as well, which I love the gadgets, don't get me wrong.
The EMP watch.
But I do really feel like, look, I'm going to be honest, I think gadgets feel so out of place in the Daniel Craig era.
Yeah.
Because even though they're in these movies, the movies are still trying to be the gritty, realistic movies they are. Although I will notice with the last few films, there's a lot more Daniel Craig doing quips and one-liners than there was in those early films, even though he doesn't do it there. Like, you go back and watch Casino Royale, and, like, there's the bit where, you know, like, the Vesper's like, you're not going back in there, and he's like, I wouldn't dream of it. And then he sits down, or, like, there's the bit where he gets in the fight in the stairwell, and then he sits down, and the chief's like, oh, you've changed your shirt, Mr. Bond. And he's like, you know, like, oh yeah, well, I don't consider myself in trouble till, oh yeah, the chief's like, I hope our little game is not causing you to perspire. And he's like, oh, I don't consider myself in trouble till I start weeping blood. You know, like, he's always had, like, those little one-liners, but, like, I felt it in the last two movies, especially in Spectre and this one. It's just been dialed up a little bit, which just feels a bit weird, but it also works. You know, like it's not like it's out of place, and the gadgets aren't too bad either. But like, when you just look back at this whole era as a whole, it does seem a bit
out of place.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of great action sequences. The plot's a bit silly, but you know, it's a bit of fun. Like this story is more about the emotion. Unlike Spectre, this story is more about that like personal emotional conflict with Bond and, you know, Madeline Swan and like you know, kind of Bond's character. This is what I was saying earlier when I was talking about Arcane. Like, plot doesn't fucking matter, right? Like, as long as you've got a solid character arc and that character goes on a journey, that's what matters. Because like when you think about it with media, right? Like we connect to the characters because we see that world through the characters. So the plot is just an excuse to get the character from point A to point B. It doesn't really matter that much as long as that journey that we go on with those characters, the journey that allows us to connect to them, is solid, right? And I think this movie does that really well. I don't really have a lot to say. I don't want to go too much more.
I would like to go further in depth on another point, but I think most of my feelings were put out here. I enjoy the movie.
Yeah, it's a solid movie. I genuinely love it, and I honestly don't know whether I would sit it at number 2 or whether I'd sit it. It's definitely above Spectre and Quantum of Solace, obviously. It's a solid movie, and like you said, the action sequences are pretty damn solid. And there's a lot of great little memorable characters. Like I would definitely 100% want to see. I'd love to see like a Nomi spin-off, you know, where it's like her and Ana de Armas just doing bits. Like that'd be fun. It's obviously not going to happen, but I would watch that because I thought Nomi was a really good character. That's something we didn't actually talk about earlier. Is I really love the chemistry between Nomi and Bond. Like I love that whole bit. My favorite bit is when they're walking through MI6 and everyone's like, oh, here you go, 007, and then they just get confused because there's two 007s there.
It was.
It's good stuff. And of course, it all ends in a very satisfying, you know, Bond does die, but it feels like a satisfying end. You know, it feels like a solid end. We get a nice little scene with M and the crew, you know, and then we have the final scene where Madeline's driving off. Oh, by the way, Bond has a daughter. We haven't talked about that at all, but Bond has a daughter, and Bond drives off. And Madeline drives off with the daughter at the end, and one of the big lines in this film is "We have all the time in the world," and then the song from On Her Majesty's Secret Service plays, which is kind of fitting because it ends in a very similar way to how that film ends.
It's very parallel, very well done.
I think we should wrap this up though. It's fucking nearly 10:30. This was a good episode. It was a bit of a longer one, but you know, it's the end of year. They usually are a bit longer. But yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back around New Year's with the Doctor Who podcast.
Go check that out.
Next month in January, we're going to be doing The Witcher season 2, because at the time of recording, I think that's dropping in a few days. I think it's like next week. Yeah. That's the 16th. I think
it's the 16th.
Yeah, 16th. Yeah. It's the 10th today. Yeah. So it's dropping on the 16th. So I'm very excited. I'm actually, do you know what I'm going to do? As soon as I finish rewatching Doctor Who, I'm actually going to rewatch The Witcher season 1.
Currently working on it.
I'll come back to Smallville later on because I'll smash through it. But yeah, we'll be doing that. We'll probably do that first, I think. And then if you get to see Last Night in Soho, hopefully that gives you a good few weeks to go and see it at some point.
Yeah.
And then maybe we could do that. And then, like I said, I was going to do Book of Boba Fett, but I think that's going to be released weekly, so I think we probably won't get to do that until, like you said, February or March. But we got some good episodes coming up, and of course March next year. I mean, there's nothing really coming out in January besides the Doctor Who special. But February next year is going to be completely fucked for video games. So what I was thinking, maybe an idea we could do is we could do like maybe. I mean, I don't know how many of all the games coming out in February you're going to play. I mean, there's too many of them to come out to play all of them and finish all of them. But I have a feeling you're probably going to play a lot of them.
I'm going to try my best.
I suspect. So maybe we could do like a February games wrap-up episode, maybe in March or something. Just talk about the games that came out rather than dedicate a full episode. Because I want to try and get some more gaming episodes next year. Because this year we didn't really have a lot. We essentially just had Cyberpunk and Resident Evil. We didn't really talk about any other games, which is fine. Like, that's fine. Like, I like talking about all the things, but I'd like to maybe try and get a few more in next year. But either way, like, we always talk about games in the catch-up.
They make their way in somehow. But yeah, I'd also like that.
We'll figure it out. Other than that brings us to the end of the episode. I am going to go and clean up from dinner now. I'm assuming you're going to go have dinner if you haven't already. Oh, wow, I didn't even hear you eat dinner at all.
Damn.
So there you go. Bloody stealthy right there. I'm sure there's probably some games or whatever you want to go play. I'm going to go play one with my mate. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, this has been fun. This is a fun episode. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. And hopefully, it won't be by the time this episode is up, but hopefully at some point in the near future, all the past episodes from the past, I think we've done 3, might be up on podcast services. So hopefully, I've been saying that every podcast that we've done for the past like 6 months, but it will eventually. I need the money to be able to do it first, but it will eventually be up there. But if not, you're listening to this on YouTube, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, all of that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, Lewin, take us out. Let's just wrap this up. Let's wrap up 2021.
Thanks everyone for listening to us throughout 2021. Thank you for listening to this year's Bullshit Awards. We have exciting more of Season 2. It's not the Season 2 wrap-up. This isn't the grand finale. We will give you that another time. So thanks so much for listening.
Yeah. I don't know when that'll be. It'll be probably at the end of next year, I guess, now, because we kind of barely uploaded this year. So I just realized my phone's been off the entire time, so I'm only just turning it on now. It died on me earlier on while I was cooking, and it's now fully charged. So now I'm turning my phone back on. Anyway, this is the end of the episode.
Catch you later.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.